Cookie. So every time I sat down to think about what I would say during this toast, I got right back up because I got hungry thinking about the word toast. But that's kind of how Cookie and I are different. I would sit down, get up, wait, think about something to do, think about something else, and my sister was just always able to sit down and just focus, and she was that driving force. She is that driving force, and she will always be that force in my life that kind of reminds me to focus and to stay strong. And I always kind of thought, well, who would stay strong for Cookie? She keeps everyone around her strong. And then we met David. But let's go back to me. So as kids, I always wanted to hang out with my big sister at all times, but I was not cool enough for her yet. In her head, obviously. And I remember this one time, I really wanted to play with her at, I guess I was, 6 or 7, and she was like 10, something like that. And she wanted to go with her friend, who was her age, to her friend's house on the other side of the neighborhood. And she didn't want me to go with them. And she's like, no, you're little, you can't. And so I got really sad, but I don't listen, so I followed them the whole way throughout the whole neighborhood, and without them knowing, because I wasn't allowed to. So every time they would turn around, I would hide behind a tree. But I just kept going, and eventually she saw me behind a tree, because I'm not very stable. And she got so mad at me and made me leave, and I got so sad. But that's how kids are, and it's just funny that, 10 years later, she asked me, like 10 plus years later, she asked me, Gina, a bunch of my friends from Warren are going to Thailand. I can't go without you. She had problems with me going down the street with her when we were younger, but as we got older, she couldn't imagine being halfway around the world without me. And it's just a test to kind of how our relationship is. So I'm the one that kind of keeps her entertained, definitely. Her minion. She's like, oh, you get a spa day for everything that you've done for me for maid of honor duties. And it's like, okay, what about the other 25 years of being your slave? Willingly slave. Because again, you do a lot for me too. But you're my favorite sister out of all of them. Between you and JJ, you're my favorite sister. And honestly, half of who I am today is because of you. Sorry, Mommy and Papi, you have to share one other half. And JJ, you have a slice too. And so it made me so happy when I finally did meet David, and I saw who was going to be the person to be strong enough for my sister when my sister's strong for everyone else. But most importantly, to make jokes for my sister when I wasn't there. And to do a Chonga Hialeah accent when I'm not there. Because tú sabes, that has to be there, It can't not be there. And I always loved David ever since I met him, but I always kind of wondered, okay, but is he the one for my sister? And I can tell you the exact moment when I realized that he was. 2 years ago, David, my sister, my dad, and I went to Cuba. It was the first time David, my dad, and I had gone. Well, the first time David and I had gone. First time my dad had gone in 40. I'm not going to be specific about the number in case he's sensitive about his age. But in 40-some years. And my sister had gone the year before. no sooner did we land in this mysterious land that we've heard of since our childhood, was David detained in the airport upon arrival in Cuba. And it's not just because he's white, but it's also because he was actually holding in one of his bags a water heater for our 90-year-old cousin whom I had never even met, let alone David. And he was detained for 3 hours, and they actually loved him because he spoke Spanish and he explained the forms the Cuban police had to fill out, and they eventually let him go after many worries of my sister and tears and freaking out. And it was all fine, but it was just a test to how much David loved my sister, loved my family, and wanted to be a part of it, and appreciates our culture, appreciates our background, and it just showed how much he would do anything for my sister. And that's the moment when I was like, yes. Yes. And also, I don't know if you know, but the mantilla, the thing that was draped during both of the ceremonies over David and Elena, interesting story, he was very willing to wear that also because the mantilla was snuck into this country. They used to take away mantillas in Cuba when you would leave for good. They knew that was a valuable thing in every family, so they took almost everyone I know. Very few people in my family have one from Cuba. And my grandmother sewed it into her skirt so that it would look like a slit. And so it's the only one my family has from Cuba. And David was very excited to wear that. And that was a very special moment for us. And another note, I don't know if you guys know, but also, and I know that my family is very happy to be part of your family, and we would do anything for you. Like my dad, that wonderful, beautiful chair that David got to dance with his mother in, my dad built that in a weekend. And he built 7 ramps, and we just want to become one, just like David and Elena are one, and we're happy to, because I love your family and your parents and everyone, and your brother too. And Henry, your Chinese brother, or as your grandmother says, your Chinese grandson, the Chinese grandson. So I was gonna end it there, but this morning we had an intruder in my house, a really ugly intruder. Not JJ, he wasn't there. Not my brother. It was a lizard, so I went downstairs to go catch the lizard because the lizard patrol, JJ, wasn't there. And I went to catch the lizard. I needed to find something hard to hold the lizard with, and guess what I found? What? Your diary from when you were 12. No lie, this morning, I have it with me upstairs. And I wrote down a quote that I think is something that everyone can take away. Even 12-year-old Elena is smarter than most of us sometimes. And it's just something that you need to be reminded of. Both of you are very successful people, and you always are looking to get ahead, and you do every time. But there's one thing that I want to remind you of from 12-year-old Elena. Okay? She got into a new hobby, and she was like, this is fun. This is kind of what I want to do. This is the kind of person I want to be. I want to stop and want to think about it. And then she said, that is the matter with most people these days. They are ahead of what they should be in due time. She's basically saying you should stop trying to be someone and be okay with who you are and where you are. And I thought that was beautiful, because I know there's so many next steps in your lives, but you two, I want you to stop and look at each other's eyes every day and be appreciative of this moment, of who you are to each other, who you are to yourselves, and be appreciative of all the love around here today, because even when we're not physically with you, you always have us. And you will get everything that you want. Like our grandmother used to say, lo que está para ti, nadie te lo quita. I love you both. Brother David.